Hey guys, JamieStarr here. I wanted to cover an article, and I figured the best way to set it up would be with this viral clip of Tomi Lahren on Trevor Noah's show. And I have to say, I heard Trevor Noah hit up David Seaman about Pizzagate. He's having on Tomi Lahren. It seems like, and I had seen articles about The Daily Show just plummeting since Trevor Noah got on it. And so it really seems like there's a, if you can't beat 'em, join him type thing going on, where he's not, switching his stance, but instead he's trying to bring in all of this because he knows that's where the views are. If you didn't see, he did a clip on Tomi Lahren where he admitted that the views on her Facebook videos are more than all mainstream media in all of their forms, print, web, cable, combined. So he's latching on to try to retain some sense of relevancy. So I'm going to let this clip play, and then I'll bring up my points to it.
I wish that we could disagree with each other without thinking that we are bad people or ill-intentioned folks. So because I criticize a black person or I criticize the Black Lives Matter movement, that doesn't mean that I am anti-black. It does not mean that I don't like black people or that I'm a racist. It means I'm criticizing a movement. I criticize Colin Kaepernick. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in his First Amendment rights. It means that I believe in my First Amendment rights to criticize him. So it doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me a racist. Point out, I've never used racial slurs to address people. I've never looked down on someone because of their skin color. To me, true diversity is diversity of thought, not diversity of color. I don't see color. I go after Hillary Clinton and she's white as they come.
You don't see color. So what do you do at the traffic lights?
See, here they're making light of this I don't see color bit, and it's really sad that they are, because and I really I feel like, and maybe I'll start a petition. I think we should, because of the state of the modern left, we should abolish Martin Luther King Day, because they want nothing to do with his dream or what he stood for or judging on the content of character. Trevor Noah is going to follow this up by saying it's about how you treat color. And Tomi says she agrees, but in what she just said, where she said, I don't look down upon people of color, well, that's why they want you to see color, is they want you to see it to look down on it. So it's always this, looking down on Hispanics. Oh, well, we can't expect Hispanics to follow the law or the immigration system or the voter ID thing. There's a really good clip, I might have covered it, saying what liberals really think about blacks. And you see this guy go around and ask a bunch of college-age white girls what they think about voter ID laws, and they say, they say the craziest things. They say it's racist, we can't expect them to find the DMV, we can't expect them to have the internet or to even know how to work it, just like they think they're just completely inept, that they are just helpless little things that can't do anything for themselves. And that's the left's position. It is one of looking down upon everyone. I hate it. It's such a scumbag way to be. So that was the first point I wanted to bring up. And as far as abolishing Martin Luther, the only time they reference Martin Luther King is riots are the voice of the voiceless. Like, they take this one, latch onto this one little quote and twist it in a way to justify everything they say, and then go, oh, well, you want MLK? Well, MLK said this. They're snotty little brats. I hate them all. And it's just like, voiceless, get a Twitter. Get some social media. The news reports on people's tweets like it's fucking gossip every other day. I saw a thing going around, and this is the other thing I hate. It's the supply and demand thing. These people want enemies. They want racists. They want conflict. You have these racial narcissists who want everything to be about their skin color, so then they can claim victimhood. Like when the Luke Cage show came out, I saw a handful of tweets on my timeline. These white people protesting the Luke Cage, they protesting. And I came across a video, and it was like 3 tweets where someone was like, well, obviously Luke Cage wasn't made for white people, and just, this is, this show is so pro-black, I'm not really for it, I'm boycotting it. Like, one troll on Twitter said he was not going to watch it, and they're acting as if there's a national boycott against it. It's delusional, that's all it is, and it really disgusts me, so we'll continue with this clip.
I don't believe in that at all when people say that. There's nothing wrong with seeing color. It's how you treat color that's more important.
You're right. It is.
Here's my thing. Like, all these points that you make are great, and I do believe that you believe them. And I don't believe anyone is actively trying. There are a few people who are trying to be bad from their point of view. But when I look at what you're saying, you say you're not pushing a racist narrative. You're criticizing. Do you really believe you're criticizing and you're not malintentioned when you say things like Black Lives Matter is the new KKK?
Now, isn't it funny where he says, I don't think people are really bad. I don't think they're doing anything. They're bad from their point of view. Do you really think you're not bad? Do you really think you're not malintentioned? Like, it's so odd how he'll it's kind of like the person who says, I'm not racist, but all these niggers are lazy. It's like, you wouldn't have to, I've seen girls say, nothing against loving a guy, but the smartest thing women can do is always keep their independence. And it's like, if you should know by the fact that you're having to preface it, that you're saying something that contradicts that. But
because you realize Black Lives Matter can't be the new KKK. The KKK is still around. They have not vacated their premises. And most importantly, to say Black Lives Matter is the new KKK is to really, really minimize what the KKK did and what they stand for. That is not the same thing. Surely you understand the incendiary feeling of your comments. You know that, surely.
It's controversial, but I think there are some things that need to be said. And when the Black Lives Matter movement is going out with signs saying, fry 'em like bacon, F the police, when they're going out saying, if you see a white person, target them, that is happening, Trevor. That happened in Milwaukee not too long ago. That is happening. So when that now becomes the narrative and you're starting to loot, burn, and riot, what did the KKK do?
That is not, look, we'll go around in circles. Did you say, what did the KKK do?
No, what did they do? When you're saying...
He can't say anything about it because it is true. I would ask, what has the KKK done in the past 50 years? Is it a relevant problem? Yeah, they're still around, but it's nothing. If you check the Wikipedia, it's all of 6,000 people in a country of 300 million, or whatever. And the root of this, though, that I want to address is Trevor Noah gets into this, not all. Well, it's just a handful of people within this group doing the violence. And the funny thing is it's always a not all, again, when it concerns these minority or identity groups. When it's remarks about white people, it is all. And I'm not going to defend the KKK, but not every member of the KKK was violent or attacking people. David Duke, for example, that's part of why he left the KKK. And I have to say, David Duke gets such a bad rap for being part of the KKK, when in reality, shouldn't we respect someone more if they were part of something and then chose to leave it? I guarantee you, if there was a Muslim who was a part of ISIS and then chose to leave ISIS because they didn't agree with what they were doing, they would be touted around in the media all day long as this symbol of purity and hope. And, it would become the token, not all, well, look at this one. It's really odd to me, as I almost think David Duke, because of being in it and then leaving it for the reasons he left, should be given a lot more credit. And even he said to his defense, Nelson Mandela was a former communist, but you never hear them say former communist Nelson Mandela. It's always former KKK David Duke. He can't, it could be 40 years from when it was, which it has been, and they still attach that to him. If you're on the right, you're not allowed to make any mistakes because they will stick it to you every chance they get. But if you're on the left, you could say whatever, you could do whatever. Like, the only actual divide there is a political one, where if you have the right politics, you can get away with certain things that no one else would be able to get away with. And some of it no one should be able to get away with. But, so Tomi makes the point that, you know, there's burning, vandalizing, and everything else going on. I want to bring up this article. Navy vet's home vandalized, torched by anti-Trump extremists. Word cracker spray painted on house in yet another hate crime attack. Now, I want to say, here's another thing that really bothers me is, and I've heard this mentioned, the word cracker, and if anyone knows the details, please fill me in. I've heard emotionalized black people say, we call him cracker because the sound of the whip cracking in the fields and this, and that. And I've heard people say that the slang term goes back, it predates America. And then I've also heard the term cracker was a term for someone who worked in coal mining, where, you know, because you're mining stuff, you're cracking the rocks. So I'm assuming that's the origin of it, but if anyone knows the details, please let me know. So you see here a, you know, racial epithet or whatever spray painted on a house of a Navy vet. 2 young children vandalized the racial slurs both outside before it was set on fire. So this is no different from the KKK. And here's the other factor. We can't go back in time and change the past. But making excuses for this shit and continually saying, not all, that doesn't represent all. But in reality, if there was anyone in this group who disagreed with these activities, the smart thing to do would be distance yourself from it as they continue to increase. I mean, you would think that people would say, we got to get a handle on this. These bad apples are going to bring us all down. But you don't have that happen. And I've tried to make this point too, you know, you have black people that come out and say, oh, well, you know, when I walk outside, I'm not a thug, I could be dressed nice, an old lady would clutch her purse, this, and that, which these are talking points. I don't think it really happens to everyone. But okay, if that does happen, blame black people. Blame the bad apples that are making it look bad for everyone else. But instead, we blame the people responding to things, oh, well, they're bad for having that response, even though it might be legitimate in some cases. So here's the whole article. It's not what I expected out of America. It should be us figuring problems out together. Say he was targeted for his political beliefs. Here you see the place is just destroyed. The word cracker was also spray painted on the house, suggesting that the crime was racially motivated. Of course, hate crimes don't apply to white people. Those are the systemic legal protections only afforded to minorities, and somehow the system is slanted against them when they have whole sections of laws only for them. Don't ask me how it makes sense, but that's what they say. Most likely carried out by Black Lives Matter supporters. Earlier this month, 2 mobile homes located nearby were spray painted with words "fuck Trump," BLM, and "burn everything," indicating a possible connection between the 2 attacks. And here's the other thing, and this is why I hate identity politics, because I've really realized it's gang warfare. And the way you can tell it's gang warfare is not in what actually happens, but I hear these things where, even a friend of mine tried saying it happened to a friend, and when they tell you it, it's so like something out of a movie that you can tell it's made up. Oh, well, a bunch of white guys in a pickup truck with a Confederate flag across the back jumped out of the car and yelled at my Muslim friend, "Get out of this country, terrorist," and then drove off saying, "Trump 2016, like it's a gang, like they're out there being like, bloods up, Crips down, West Side." Like, come on. Really? You really expect me to believe that? And it's so funny because we've seen articles where people say this and then it turns out to be debunked, and then other people try to claim it happened to them, and it's like, no, Trump supporters are not some big gang. This is not these little factions, but there are people who want it to be that. They want it to be the BLM versus the white nationalists, or the BLM versus this, versus La Raza, versus the KKK. Like, they want gang warfare, and it's so ridiculous. Jesse Ventura, who's lost his goddamn mind, pointed this out in his book Democrats and Democrats and Republicans, or something like that. I mean, God knows what happened to him. He's turned into a complete leftist with this whole, oh, well, we need open borders because, you know, it says on the Statue of Liberty that this, as if what's inscribed on the fucking statue is the law, or like, because, I mean, America didn't even build the fucking Statue of Liberty. It was a gift from French Freemasons, and he's trying to govern the country by what's inscribed on it. Well, hell, Jesse, if we're going to govern the country based on what's written into rocks, start with the Georgia Guidestones. I mean, it's a whole globalist UN depopulation thing put into a bunch of euphemisms and flowery nature pro-earth talk. But hell, why don't we fucking kill off everyone until there's only 50,000 people? That's what it says that's inscribed in the rocks. I mean, if this is the way you want to govern, or the way you think we should be governing, where do you stop? So, I just wanted to point this out, you know, because that Tomi Lahren thing is going viral, and this just happened, and she's very on point that this is the current problem. Stop pointing to the past and trying to use that. Two wrongs don't make a right. This is going on now. People need to denounce this. And that's the other thing. You know, you have these people with these fucking daddy issues. Daddy, disavow this. Daddy, tell me you don't agree with this. Daddy, tell me Alex Jones is a bad man. Daddy, that's all it is. It's their daddy issues wanting an apology tour from the president. But yet no one disavows this. No one talks against it. They talk right past it. They make not all. I mean, you could have a street full of them walking around, like she said, saying kill cops, all the fucking thousands of people. And they're just, no, not all. That's just few bad apples. It doesn't matter that the few bad apples are somehow loud enough to be heard from fucking, like, miles away. Oh, no. So, I wanted to bring this out. The attack once again highlights the fact that leftists, while preaching tolerance and diversity, are the most intolerant people you could ever meet and cannot stand diversity of opinion, lashing out against it with abuse and violence on a regular basis. And here's another point I tried to make to someone. Because, you know, they tried giving me this, oh, diversity is good for jobs, and it's good for this, and it's good for that. And the whole time, if I put across any point of view, of course, it's, well, you're just a white national. First of all, I don't think white nationalists even exist. I've never heard anyone advocate for a white nation. But besides that, I tried telling the person, do you realize if you have a Mexican, black person, an Asian person, and an Indian person who all vote Democrat and all went to a liberal arts school or something, there's no diversity there except the superficial diversity of their opinion. But if you had a Jewish Democrat, Catholic Italian, a German person, and a British atheist, that there's more diversity in those groups of people that all just happen to be white than in the group that appears to be more diverse. It's, again, diversity of thought and culture and background rather than this hive mind collective they want to. And the whole thing is, again, if your politics are all this one way, and because the leftist politics are all about virtue signaling, and these, you know, Hillary Clinton ran on all platitudes. So if you hold these things up like they are sacred, you know, abortion is a woman's right, whatever, you're not going to have any diversity. So, Black Lives Matter is the new KKK. Whether Trevor Noah likes it or not, the KKK is not doing this right now. If it was, it'd be a problem. But it's not. So, Here we go.